Well, new at 10, the Ouachita Parish Police Jury is considering an ordinance that could ban the sale and distribution of Kratom. Gabby Ballou has a look at how that impact could affect the community. Gabby?
Jennifer, I was able to speak to the West Monroe Police Department's Metro Narcotics Unit, a pharmacy owner, and a local gas station's management about their thoughts on the possible ban of Kratom.
The quicker we get this stuff regulated or banned, the better off our young people and our society as a whole will be.
Charlie Jones is the owner and pharmacist at Drennan's Pharmacy in West Monroe. He says he has done extensive research on Kratom and claims it's a public health issue not only statewide, but also across the country.
It affects millions. There are some people who benefit from it. Usually they are adults, and they can use it more appropriately than others, but most people who use it are abusing it.
According to the U.S. Department of Justice Drug Enforcement Administration, Kratom is a product derived from a tree and can come in the form of a pill, oil extract, leaf, or powder. When it's used in recommended dosages, it can act as a stimulant. However, if it's abused, it can act as a depressant. Some of the negative side effects include nausea, drowsiness, dry mouth, and/or loss of appetite. Captain Doug Smits with the West Monroe Police Department's Metro Narcotics Unit says it could potentially affect the bottom line of local businesses.
From my knowledge, there's places that make a large amount of revenue off of selling this stuff. I do think that it will help the parish as far as not being so easily accessible for one to get to use and abuse.
Other parishes that have a ban on Kratom in place include Concordia, LaSalle, and Franklin parishes, along with at least 4 other parishes. I spoke to Ouachita Parish Police Jury President Shane Smiley on Monday before the police jury meeting where the Kratom ordinance was introduced. He says he's hearing concerns from law enforcement and parish residents.
I think some of their concerns are the unregulation of it and how that's getting out on the shelves and how it's readily available, and the possibility that not only can it be highly addictive, but then it could be contaminated.
We reached out to Super Safe number 3 in West Monroe with their thoughts on the possible ban, and they said in a statement, in part, local government employees need to address serious issues rather than trying to make our community into a nanny state. A public meeting will be held at the next police jury meeting on October 22nd at 5:30 p.m. at the Ouachita Parish Police Jury Administrative Building in Monroe. If the ordinance is passed, it will take effect on December 1st. Jennifer?